Welcome to Prison Professors. My name is Michael Santos, and today we are going to continue reading section 12 of this book, Prison, My 8,344th Day. If you haven't read or listened to any of the other previous chapters, the link below will include links to all of the sections from section 1, and I think it's going to go to about sections 15 or 16 sections. We're producing this book for people in jails and prisons across America, striving to help them understand the relationship between the decisions they make today and their prospects for success upon release. Sadly, many of the people that go into jails and prisons don't really appreciate the magnitude of challenges that follow for anybody who's got a criminal background. And when they come home, they find themselves all too frequently facing unemployment or underemployment. Some, of course, become homeless, and many have real challenges when it comes to navigating a pathway to success. My name is Michael Santos, and on behalf of our entire team at Prison Professors, one thing I will say is that I never ask anyone to do anything that I didn't do. I made really bad decisions as a young man. I was in prison for 26 years. I started my sentence in August of 1987 and didn't get out of prison for 9,500 days later on August the 12th, 2013. I want to show people how those decisions that I made in prison related to the successful career I built when I came home, and how people can do it as well. This particular book, Prison, My 8,344th Day, is about a typical day during my 23rd year of imprisonment, and I've just been kind of documenting how do you make decisions while going through a single day. And so let me go ahead and turn to the chapter now and start reading, and I would encourage you, if you are in jail or prison and you have the ability to look at this through a video type program, read along with me. It'll help you, I hope, develop your reading skills if that's what you need. And otherwise, it will help you with your critical thinking skills about understanding how are you making decisions today that are going to influence what you become in the weeks, days, months, years, and for some, decades ahead. So now we're continuing, and in section 12, we're going to be talking about publishing. This takes us through the day from around 12:45 in the afternoon. So it's 12:45 in the afternoon. 3 people join me in the quiet room to work on their independent study programs. Since they are reading aloud, the room is no longer peaceful. I wake early each morning for the alone time, but it would be unreasonable to expect the room to stay silent during midday hours. Earplugs won't block their conversation. The 3 men work through an independent study project, suggesting that they are using time wisely. They're trying to become more knowledgeable about the price movements for commodities. Using financial pages of business newspapers, they track commodities like sugar, coffee, grain, pork bellies, etc. With graph paper, the men create their charts. The results show whether they would have gained or lost if they had speculated in the markets. Charting price movements with graph paper and day-old newspapers lack the precision and speed that powerful computers provide, but they are getting insight into technical analysis. I listen as they discuss support, resistance levels, and volume swings. I try to write, but I'm distracted by their discussions of how their phantom trades and the systems that they created would have resulted in gains or losses. During the years that I have served, I have heard many people talk about the systems they created to earn easy money. The conversations make me more cynical than most. One person told me about a system he created to guarantee a 30% return with sports betting. I learned about a method to win at blackjack and other card games from another person. Generally, I find it best not to venture unsolicited opinions on what I think about their systems. That way, I can spare myself the inevitable arguments that follow as egos interfere, including my own ego. I look at my watch and think of other places I might go for more solitude or a quieter place. It's almost 1 p.m., so I straighten out my writing gear and leave. I am going to the law library. I stop by the phone area and dial Carol's number on my way out. She presses a button to accept my call. At every opportunity, I express my devotion to her. But with the phone limitations, we hardly have any time to talk. During our brief call, Carol told me about a message she received from Joan Petersilia, a law professor at Stanford. Joan has been a mentor to me for longer than a decade. Carol and Joan will meet for coffee in Santa Barbara when Joan returns home. Much earlier in my prison term, while I worked toward my master's degree, I read everything about the prison system. Joan wrote prolifically about reentry. When I read about people interested in subjects relating to the career I wanted to build, I wrote them. Through that effort, I added to my support network. Hundreds of people advocated on my behalf, and I intended to leverage those relationships once I got out. I'm still operating by that plan. Joan and I began corresponding after I wrote her dozens of letters. Recently, she invited me to contribute a chapter to a new book she was authoring called The Oxford Handbook on Sentencing and Corrections. She also asked me to speak at Stanford Law School upon my release. I am enthusiastic about opportunities to strengthen my relationship with her and to prove worthy of her sponsorship. Carol and I discuss what she has been doing since we spoke earlier, and I tell her about my progress on projects I am working to finish. When I disconnect the call, I see that we have used 4 minutes of our phone time, falling further behind in our monthly allotment of phone minutes. If we keep up at this rate, we'll run out of phone minutes before the month ends. Now it's 1:04 p.m. When I push open the housing unit's door, a wave of desert heat reminds me that we're quickly getting into summer. I walk across a wide concrete pathway that leads to the library. Up ahead, I see Eric. He is finishing an 18-month sentence that followed his guilty plea for defrauding investors out of nearly $2 million. A man I haven't seen before stands by Eric's side. He wears blue canvas slip-on shoes, a telltale sign that he recently arrived at Taft. Both men observe me as I approach. They are waiting to talk with me. Eric tells me that Mark surrendered to the camp last week, and since Mark read through my website before coming in, he wanted an introduction. We shake hands and converse for a few minutes about his experience. Like many people surrendering to prison, Mark complains that his lawyer failed to prepare him. He didn't understand the significance of every decision. From writings I published online, he realizes that he could have done more to influence the length of time that he served. Mark told me that he didn't discover our website until his judge imposed his sentence and authorities designated him to serve the sentence at Taft. By then, he had missed opportunities to prepare. He didn't know the significance of the pre-sentence investigation interview or how he could build a mitigation strategy before sentencing. I tried to encourage him, helping him understand that it's never too early or too late to begin preparing for a better outcome. As I walk away, I am frustrated at how ineffective I have been at designing a website that people could find. The earlier people learn about the system, the more effectively they can prepare. I have written and published thousands of articles, yet without effective marketing, I am failing to reach the potential market. When I get out, I will have to fix this problem. I open the door leading into the building that holds the education department. With only a few small rooms for classes, it is not much of a department. I turn left to walk the corridor leading to the library, passing by a classroom where a dozen men sit at personal computers in a self-study course for Word and Excel application programs. I see a bulletin board with clippings from newspaper articles that have been up for longer than 2 years. As I turn into the law library, I see a recent issue of Prison Legal News, a newspaper that publishes judicial decisions related to prisons and sentencing. Paul Wright, the newspaper's founder, wrote the cover story, providing a history of how he and others served time in the Washington state prison system. The paper recently celebrated its 20th year of continuous publication, and it has grown to 7,000 subscribers. I remember seeing one of the first issues of Prison Legal News back in the early 1990s. I got inspired when I read that Paul Wright started the magazine while serving time inside the Washington state prison system. Over the years, I have purchased a subscription to the newspaper a few times. I admire the work of anyone who works tirelessly to improve America's prison system. Paul Wright and the group he put together report on judicial decisions, and provide content that helps people challenge various aspects of their confinement through judicial filings. My writing offers different information. I want readers to understand the prison system, and I encourage them to adjust in ways that will prepare them for success upon release. Administrators don't like it when people in prison write for publication, especially if those writings bring attention to the design flaws of America's prison system. Although we live in a country founded on democratic principles, the people who run prisons want to keep citizens in the dark about what goes on inside these boundaries. Administrators have often locked me in segregation or uprooted my life with unexpected transfers because I write about what I observed and what I learned while serving time. I am sure that Paul Wright and his colleagues at Prison Legal News paid a personal price with harsher terms of confinement because of their activist efforts to inspire prison reform. He is now a free man, but he continues his work to bring attention to the injustices associated with America's prison system. Reading about Paul's contributions inspire me. As I sit on this hard chair in the library, I look at the thousands of books that surround me. 6 typewriters are available for those who want to type documents for the courts. Yet rules threaten disciplinary action for anyone who uses typewriters for anything other than legal documents. No one uses the typewriters today. I think of how much more efficient I would be if I could type my articles. Unfortunately, I have a reputation for writing. The warden warned me that he'd send me to the hole if he heard that I used the typewriters for anything other than correspondence with the courts. Since officers monitor all outgoing mail, I wouldn't be able to send any typewritten work to Carol. The article I read in Prison Legal News motivates me. I want to write more books for prison libraries. The books sow seeds of hope for people serving time. I would also like to write more for the web, showing taxpayers why our nation's commitment to mass incarceration wastes taxpayer resources. For now, I'll have to continue writing by hand. When I get out, I will use technology to increase productivity. By learning more about the internet, I'll also learn how to market better. Writing about the prison experience feels like a calling for me. My work won't bring any relief to my sentence. With more than 8,300 days of prison behind me, I am looking forward to finishing the final 1,000 days before my release. I'll use this time to create more literature that will launch my business when I get out. Since I write about an unpopular subject, I know that my books will never build a broad readership base. Millions of people will have zero interest in my work, but I hope to provide value to people looking for this information. I am writing for a purpose, for a cause. Professional writing opportunities began to open while I worked through graduate studies at Hofstra University. Because of my writing, I built relationships with scholars that focused on America's growing use of prisons. Like Joan Peter Celia, many of those scholars authored textbooks for university students. They became mentors and invited me to contribute chapters to their books. Those relationships led to publishing agreements and to growing my support network. Like Paul Wright with Prison Legal News, writing became therapeutic for me. When St. Martin's Press issued a contract to publish Inside: Life Behind Bars in America, I reached a general nonfiction audience. Those efforts led to opportunities that bolstered my confidence and made me feel productive, even while I served decades in prison. My work contributes to the literature that documents the tragic system of America's prison system. I provide readers with a glimpse inside and offer strategies that people can use to get better outcomes. I'll use all this work to build a career and grow income streams over time. The system may proclaim to prepare people for reentry, but data on recidivism rates show that the longer we expose a person to corrections, the less likely those people will function upon release. For example, administrators enforce policies that punish people for using typewriters to nurture community support or educate themselves. As our nation moves into a digital age, the system blocks people from learning about technology. But describing the prison experience for taxpayers is only part of my work. I also write to help people avoid behavior that could trap them into problems with the criminal justice system. I sense a market for services I'll offer when I get out. Besides that, the work gives me a feeling of relevance as I climb through my 1,000 days, the last 1,000 days I'll spend in prison. Now, that concludes section 12, but I always want to conclude by asking a few questions that I hope you will consider if you're inside of a jail or prison and you're thinking about how you're preparing for success upon release. So those questions include the following. Number one, in what ways would it help you to grow an influential support network? In this chapter, I wrote about my relationship with Joan Peter-Celia. She was incredibly influential to me, not only by opening that opportunity for me to publish in her book, but also inviting me to come and speak at Stanford Law School, which really helped me bolster my resume when I got out. She also helped open opportunities for me to participate on think tanks for criminal justice reform, where I participated at the Rabina Institute at the University of Minnesota's Law School. And she also advocated for my earlier release by writing a letter that's available on my website under the testimonials section that's really powerful. So influential people have really helped me along the journey. That was a process that I started inside of prison. And that's what I would encourage you to be doing. Think about that, how you would answer that question. What ways would it help you to grow an influential support system? 2, how will the work that you're doing today influence your income opportunities upon release? Again, I never ask anybody to do anything I didn't do. But all this work that I did while I was in prison, as you can see, it's what helped me build a career. And that career is what's provided me with the resources to do things like this, things that I offer for free, content to show people how your decisions today are going to influence your prospects for success tomorrow. I couldn't do that if I didn't have a lot of other income streams and businesses. So think about that today. How would your decisions, how is that going to influence your income opportunities? And number 3, what strategies are you using to grow a support network? The bigger your support network is, in my view, the more effective you are going to be at overcoming many of the collateral consequences that really complicate life for people who come out of prison. And there are so many, like traveling, like building a business, like raising capital, like getting a job. The more you think about this and the earlier you start thinking about this, the more effective you are going to be at conquering those challenges that really complicate life for so many people who've gone through the criminal justice system. I built a whole business around that, and you can too. But you've got to think about it, and you've got to be authentic. And that's what we really work through in all of our courses. So I hope that you've gone through our Straight A Guide course or any of the other courses that Prison Professors makes available. We try to be the change that we want to see in the world. We hire and provide income opportunities for formerly incarcerated people. And we do the best that we can to help people in jail and prison understand how their decisions today will influence prospects for success. And here's a kind of a side note, kind of a funny story, is that when I go into prisons a lot of times to make these types of presentations, sometimes many people in the audience don't know who I am, and they'll see me in a suit and tie, and they'll say, that fool was never in prison. And they think they're giving me an insult because I don't look hard enough, and, I don't look like I was in prison. I don't talk like I was in prison my whole life. But I always tell those people, that was the plan, is that I wanted to come back to society strong with my dignity intact and with opportunities to function and build my own business and develop success as I define success. And that's what I want for you, for anybody that's going through the Prison Professors courses. So I do hope that you are finding value in these programs. I hope that you are working through everything that we offer at Prison Professors. If you're in a jail or a prison, share this with your administrators. If you're watching this on YouTube, please comment. Please subscribe to us, whether it's on YouTube or on iTunes or on Facebook or wherever you get your information, because we're striving to be the change that we want to see in the world. We believe in you, and we want to thank you for being a member of our community at Prison Professors. My name is Michael Santos. On behalf of our entire team, I do wish you the most successful outcome possible. Thanks.